The last thing that killed me was a giant golden hammer that nobody was even holding. The first thing I saw after death was another giant hammer carved above a crystal altar, and I decided the universe had a very specific sense of humor. I opened my eyes on cold white stone. Hundreds of young people stood around me. Some wore expensive uniforms. Some carried family swords. Some looked nervous. Everyone was staring at the crystal in front of me. It was taller than I was. Blue light moved inside it like trapped lightning. A man in a dark red coat stood beside the crystal. His name was Leon. I did not know that yet. What I knew was that my head hurt, my old body was gone, and the last clear memory in my mind was a craft exhibition, a decorative hammer hanging from 3 thin chains, and one terrible metallic sound above my head. Then darkness. Then this. Leon looked at me with irritation. "Place your hand on the awakening crystal." I looked around. No one seemed surprised that I had appeared there. That meant the body was supposed to be there. Good. I had somehow inherited a life. Bad. I had no idea whose life. I put my hand on the crystal. The blue light inside it exploded. People shouted. The crystal became white, then gold, then red. A girl near the front covered her mouth. A boy with silver hair leaned forward. Someone whispered, "High resonance." Another voice said, "Maybe a rare combat class." Leon's expression changed. For the first time, he looked interested. The light climbed higher. The crystal shook. A thin crack appeared at the base. The whole hall became silent. Leon stepped closer. "Exceptional resonance," he said. "This level usually appears with advanced combat classes." The silver-haired boy crossed his arms. He looked like the kind of person who had never opened a door by himself if someone else could do it. Later, I learned his name was Ren. He was the son of a wealthy military supplier. At that moment, he simply looked annoyed that my crystal was brighter than his had been. The light suddenly vanished. One word appeared inside the crystal. "Blacksmith." Silence lasted for 2 heartbeats. Then someone laughed. Another person joined. Within seconds, half the hall was laughing. I stared at the crystal. Blacksmith. That was it. No flame warrior, no dragon knight, no shadow assassin. Blacksmith. After getting killed by a hammer. I almost respected the consistency. Leon's interest disappeared so quickly that it looked painful. "A support class," he said. Ren laughed loudly. "All that light for a blacksmith?" The crowd laughed again. Leon examined a parchment in his hand. Evan Hale. So that was my name now. Useful. Leon continued. "You were provisionally assigned to the combat division because of your preliminary mana score." He drew a line through something on the parchment. "Assignment canceled." People watched. He drew another line. "Academy ranking position canceled." Another line. "Combat dormitory placement canceled." That one made several students whisper. Leon looked toward Ren. "An upgraded room has become available." Ren smiled. "My father will be pleased to hear the academy uses resources efficiently." I understood immediately. My room had not simply disappeared, it had moved. Leon was not finished. "The combat stipend is also reserved for active combat students. 30 silver per month will be reassigned." Ren raised one eyebrow. "To me?" Leon smiled faintly. "You currently hold the highest score among first-year swordsmen." The crowd reacted at once. Some congratulated Ren. Some looked at me. Most of them were amused. I had been in this world for less than 10 minutes. I had already lost a ranking, a room, and 30 silver a month. Efficient. Leon handed me a gray token. "Report to the Eastern Maintenance Forge. Training equipment always needs repairs." I took the token. A boy behind Ren called out, "Can he at least repair the crystal he almost broke?" More laughter. I looked at the crystal, then at the decorative stone hammer above it. I moved 2 steps to the side. Nobody understood why. I did. I had learned one lesson from my previous life. Never trust a large object suspended over your head. Leon frowned. "Do you have something to say?" "No." That disappointed him. People like Leon enjoyed resistance when the result had already been decided. It made victory sweeter. I gave him nothing. I walked through the crowd. Students moved aside, not from respect. They moved like I was carrying dirty laundry. I heard every comment. "Waste of resonance." "Maybe he can make horseshoes." "What was his mana score?" "Doesn't matter now." Ren spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Try not to damage my swords, Blacksmith." I stopped. I turned. At least 80 students were watching. Ren smiled. I looked at the sword on his hip, polished steel, silver guard, fine leather grip, good balance from what I could see. Expensive. Bring me one after you break it, I said. The laughter changed. A few people made surprise sounds. Ren's smile became thinner. I turned and left. I had no sword, no money, no home, but I had discovered something useful. Ren cared what crowds thought. That meant crowds could be used. The Eastern Forge was behind the training fields. It was hot, dark, and loud. I liked it immediately. Not because I had ever been a blacksmith. I had not. In my old life, I worked with mechanical equipment and repaired things when I could not afford to replace them. That was enough to recognize a familiar environment. Metal, tools, heat, problems with clear causes. The forge master was a wide man named Bram. His beard looked strong enough to stop arrows. He looked at my gray token, then at me. Awakened today? Yes. Blacksmith? Yes. He pointed at a pile of damaged training swords. 20 copper for the day. Fix 10. I looked at the pile. Some were bent. Some had loose grips. One had a blade shaped like a tired banana. What happens if I fix more? Bram looked at me again. Still 20 copper. Good system. He snorted. Welcome to the academy. For the next few hours, I worked. My new body knew things my old one did not. When I held a hammer, movements came naturally. Not perfectly, but enough. I knew where to strike, how to heat a blade, how to judge color, how long to wait, how to keep metal from becoming brittle. The class was doing something. Not much, but something. I repaired the first sword, then the second. By the 5th, Bram stopped ignoring me. By the 8th, he moved closer. By the 10th, he picked up one of the swords and tested the balance. You've trained before? No. He stared at me. That was not a joke. Neither was my answer. Bram tested the edge with his thumb. You corrected the weight. It was heavy near the tip. It was a training sword. It was still wrong. He looked at me for several seconds. Then he placed another pile beside me. Do these. You said 10. I changed my mind. Do I get more money? No. Then I admire your courage. Bram laughed so loudly that 2 workers turned around. I repaired 6 more. At sunset, Bram threw me a small pouch. 20 copper coins. That was everything I owned. I counted them twice. Food at the cheap academy canteen cost 6 copper. A bed in the workers' dormitory cost 12. That left 2. I had become poor with impressive speed. Before I left, Bram pointed at an old storage room beside the forge. There's a cot inside. I looked at him. For 12 copper? For free. Why? You repaired 16 swords. You paid me for 10. Exactly. I understood. Bram was not generous. He was practical. Free sleeping space was cheaper than fair wages. I respected that more than fake kindness. The room was small. 1 cot, 1 table, 1 cracked window, a metal shelf. I placed my 20 copper on the table. Then I noticed something. A faint line of light moved across my hand. Words appeared in my mind, not in front of my eyes, not floating in the room. I simply knew them. My class had reached its first hidden condition. Blacksmith was not the final class. 3 possible future stages existed: Heavenly Blacksmith, Weapon Evolution Master, Relic Creator. But beneath the names was only one ability. Anything I personally forged could evolve without a fixed limit. I sat very still. Then I read the meaning again. Weapons in this world had ranks: common, fine, rare, epic, relic. And above relic were grades most people only knew from legends. A sword could be improved by repair, it could be reforged, it could receive enchantments. But once completed, its basic nature did not grow by itself. Mine could. That was the rule I broke. One rule, a very large rule. I looked through the wall toward the forge, then at my 20 copper. I smiled. The system did not give me money, it gave me a reason to spend all of it. The next morning, before sunrise, I asked Bram how much scrap iron cost. He scratched his beard. Why? I want to forge something. With 20 copper? Yes. He laughed. Then he saw my face. You're serious? Yes. He sold me a damaged bar of low-grade iron for 7 copper. Coal cost another 5. A strip of leather cost 2. I had 6 copper left, exactly enough for breakfast. I skipped breakfast. That was my first price. The sword took 4 hours. It was ugly, not terrible. Ugly. The guard was plain, the grip was dark leather, the blade had small marks where my control had failed. Bram watched the last part. When I finished, he lifted it. Better than I expected. That sounds almost insulting. It was. He swung once. Cheap iron, basic edge, decent balance. How much? If someone was desperate, 18 silver. I looked at the weapon. My total material cost had been 14 copper. That sounded promising. Then the hidden sense in my mind reacted. The sword had been recognized as mine. Its first evolution condition was simple. 100 meaningful strikes. Not practice swings, not hits against empty air, strikes against resisting material or hostile targets. I borrowed a wooden post behind the forge. Bram watched me hit it 10 times. What are you doing? Testing. You're damaging the post. I'll repair it. You're a blacksmith. Today I'm also a carpenter. He shook his head and walked away. At 20 strikes, nothing happened. At 40, my shoulders hurt. At 60, the cheap leather grip began rubbing my palm. At 80, Mira found me. I had seen her once in the forge. She worked with the Academy alchemist and carried herbs, oils, salts, and strange liquids between buildings. She had dark hair tied behind her head and a habit of watching things very carefully. She stood with a basket on one arm. What are you doing? Attacking wood. Is the wood winning? Currently. She looked at my hands. My palm was bleeding. You should stop. 18 more. Why 18? Because I already did 82. That explains nothing. It explains the number. She sighed. Then she stayed. 83. 84. My arms felt heavy. At 90, 2 forge workers came outside. At 95, Bram returned. Still fighting the post? Yes. Any progress? The post is becoming less confident. Mira laughed. At 99, nothing had changed. I raised the sword again. The 100th strike hit the wood. A sharp ringing sound crossed the yard. The blade flashed, not with magic light. The metal itself changed. The tiny imperfections along the edge vanished. The grain became tighter. The blade narrowed slightly. The balance shifted toward my hand. The entire sword seemed to breathe. I almost dropped it. Everyone stared. Bram took one step forward. What did you do? I hit the post. I saw that. Mira's eyes were wide. She came closer. The hidden sense in my mind gave me the result. The edge strength had increased by roughly 40%. Overall durability had increased by 30%. Balance had improved. The weapon had advanced from common quality to fine quality. 100 strikes. That was the first proof. Bram grabbed a standard academy training blade. Hit this. I did. The sound was much cleaner. A small notch appeared in the academy sword. My blade was untouched. Bram stared at the notch. Training blades were not supposed to be damaged by one controlled strike. Mira looked from the blade to me. You knew that would happen? No. Then why do you look calm? Because screaming would not improve the sword. One of the workers ran his finger over the new edge. This iron shouldn't hold like this. Bram's face became serious. How much did the materials cost? 14 copper. He looked at me, then at the sword, then back at me. That is not funny. I skipped breakfast. I agree. Mira opened her basket. Inside was a warm roll filled with egg and roasted onion. She handed it to me. Eat. I can pay later. You have 6 copper. I looked at her. How do you know? You counted your coins 3 times beside the forge door yesterday. I accepted the roll. It was warm. The bread was soft. The egg had salt and pepper. The onion was sweet from roasting. After half a day without food, it tasted better than anything served in my old world's expensive restaurants. I finished it in 6 bites. Mira stared. You could breathe between bites. I considered it inefficient. By noon, 3 workers had heard what happened. By afternoon, 12 had. By evening, the story had escaped the forge. The cheap blacksmith had made a sword that damaged an academy blade. That was when Ren arrived. He came with 6 swordsmen. More students followed behind them. Rumors traveled faster than horses when embarrassment was possible. Ren walked into the yard. His eyes went directly to my sword. So this is the miracle weapon? It's a sword. He smiled. I heard you damaged academy property. The post survived. Several students laughed. Ren did not. He drew his own training sword. It was much better than the standard academy blades. Bram frowned. That is not academy equipment. My personal practice weapon, Ren said. Fine steel. 3 gold. 3 gold. I looked at my 14 copper sword. Interesting. Ren raised his blade. Let's test the rumor properly. Bram stepped between us. No duels in my yard. I am not asking for a duel. Ren looked at me. 1 strike. Blade against blade. Dozens of students now stood near the forge. Leon was not there, but 2 junior instructors were. Good. Witnesses. I lifted my sword. Ren noticed my wrapped palm. You can barely hold it. I can hold it once. His friends laughed. He swung. Not full strength. He expected to humiliate me, not kill me. I angled my blade. Steel met steel. The sound was like a bell cracking. Ren's sword broke 6 inches above the guard. The upper half spun through the air. It landed in the dirt. Nobody laughed. Ren stared at the broken blade in his hand. 1 student slowly picked up the fallen piece. Bram took my sword. He inspected the edge. No damage. Not even a notch. Someone whispered, "That sword cost 3 gold." Another answered, "The blacksmith made his from scrap." Ren's face turned red. That was defective. Bram immediately looked at him. No. Ren turned. Bram held up the broken piece. I know this mark. West Hill Steelworks. Good batch. Fine heat treatment. He looked at the crowd. The sword was not defective. That was the important part. My victory had a witness, a respected one. Ren looked at me. What did you do? I forged a sword. You expect me to believe scrap iron cut fine steel? No. I held out my hand. Bram returned my weapon. I expect you to believe your eyes. A few students laughed. This time, Ren was the reason. He sheathed the broken half of his sword. That somehow made it worse. It looked like he was trying to put dignity into a leather tube. He left without another word. The crowd stayed. 3 students immediately asked how much I wanted for the sword. 1 offered 1 gold. Another offered 2. Bram told all of them to leave. When the yard finally became quiet, he turned to me. How much? For what? The sword. I'm not selling it. Good. He nodded. If you sold it for 2 gold, I would hit you. With a decorative hammer? He stared at me. I stared back. He had no idea why I found that funny. That evening, Mira came to my storage room. She carried a bowl with both hands. The smell reached me before she did. Beef stew, real beef, potatoes, carrots, onion, dark broth with herbs. A thick slice of bread sat across the top. I looked at it, then at her. I cannot afford that. You can now. What? She placed a small pouch on the table. One of the instructors paid Bram to inspect the broken sword. Bram said half the fee was yours. I opened the pouch. 20 silver. Yesterday, I had owned 20 copper. Now I had 20 silver and 6 copper. My money had multiplied by more than 10. My sword had moved from common to fine quality, and half the academy had heard my name. Strength, money, status, all in one day. I took the spoon. The stew was thick and hot. The beef fell apart when I touched it. The potatoes had absorbed the broth. I ate slowly this time. Mira sat across from me. You knew something was strange before Ren arrived. Yes. Is it your class? I looked at her. She had been the first person to see the sword change. She had also fed me twice. That did not mean I trusted her with everything, but it meant I could give her 1 piece. My weapons improve when they are used. She waited. That's all? That's already impossible. She nodded. Fair. I finished the stew. Then the hidden sense inside me reacted again. My sword had received a new possible evolution. It had broken a superior weapon. A branch had opened. Armor breaker. But another branch appeared below it. Locked. The condition was different. Defeat a creature born from flame. I stared at the sword. Mira noticed. What happened? My sword wants me to kill something on fire. She looked at the stew. Can it wait until after dinner? Yes. Good. I worked hard on the potatoes. The next morning, I went to the academy request board. Students gathered around it every day to select training jobs. Most good requests disappeared quickly. Monster hunts, escort missions, resource collection. My gray blacksmith token gave me access only to support requests. That should have been a problem. It was not. I found a dirty paper at the bottom. Clear fire rats from heating tunnel 7. Reward, 40 silver. Danger rating, low. Recommended team, 2 combat students. I took it. The clerk looked at my token. Your maintenance staff. Correct. You cannot take combat assignments. It says support personnel may enter heating tunnels for repair. That is for repairs. I am going to repair the rat problem. The clerk stared at me. A few students nearby listened. One of them laughed. The clerk rubbed his forehead. You need at least 1 combat student. Mira's voice came from behind me. I'll go. I turned. She carried a leather case filled with alchemy bottles. You're not a combat student, the clerk said. I'm licensed as field support. The clerk looked between us. He gave up. Fine. If you die, the academy is not responsible. Mira took the request paper. That sentence really improves morale. Heating Tunnel 7 smelled like ash and wet stone. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Orange light came through iron vents. We found the first fire rat after 10 minutes. It was the size of a dog. Its fur burned without being consumed. Mira looked at me. That is larger than the picture. The artist was optimistic. The rat charged. I stepped aside. My sword cut across its shoulder. Heat burst against my arm. The blade became warm. The rat turned. Mira threw a small bottle. It shattered under the creature. White foam spread across the floor. The rat slipped. I stabbed downward. The blade entered through the neck. The fire vanished. 1 kill. Nothing changed. The second rat came with 3 others. That became more difficult. I was not a swordsman. My class gave me forging knowledge. It did not give me combat mastery. I learned that very clearly when 1 rat hit me in the chest and threw me into a pipe. Pain filled my ribs. Mira shouted. I rolled before the next one bit my leg. My sword struck stone. Sparks flew. I got up. I stopped trying to fight like Ren. That was the mistake. I was not a swordsman. I was a blacksmith. I understood material, angles, stress, weak points. I watched how the rats moved. Their burning fur was strongest on the back. Their legs were almost normal. I cut the front leg of the nearest one. It fell. Mira covered it in foam. I finished it. The next lost a rear leg. The 4th hit a wall when I moved aside. I stabbed behind its jaw. When the final rat died, my sword pulsed. The metal changed again. Dark lines appeared inside the blade. Then orange light flowed through them. Heat gathered along the edge. Not enough to burn my hand. Enough to make the air shimmer. Mira stood completely still. Evan. Yes. Your sword is on fire. Technically, it is glowing. That distinction will comfort me later. The hidden sense gave me numbers. The weapon's cutting power had increased by another 30%. Against creatures vulnerable to heat, damage would rise sharply. The blade could now release stored heat through contact. Its quality had reached the upper edge of fine grade. A weapon made from scrap. Materials worth 14 copper. Comparable market value, now around 12 gold. 12 gold. I had to repeat the number in my head. Mira walked closer. Can I touch it? The blade? The flat? Yes. She touched it carefully. Her eyes widened. It's warm, but not hot. It stores the heat. That should require a fire crystal. How much? At least 6 gold for a weak one. I smiled. Mira looked at me. You're thinking about money. Yes. We just almost got eaten. And now we are not. That is your entire emotional process? No, my ribs hurt. We cleared the rest of the tunnel. 9 fire rats total. By the time we returned, the request clerk already knew something had happened. 2 maintenance workers had found the bodies. 1 had seen the glowing cuts. He told 3 people. Those 3 people had apparently told the entire building. When I placed the request paper on the desk, at least 30 students were nearby. The clerk looked at me. You killed 9? Mira helped. Mira nodded. He did most of the cutting. The clerk counted 40 silver, then added 10 more. Bonus for clearing the nest. 50 silver. My money moved again. The clerk stared at my sword. Is that the same weapon? Yes. It wasn't glowing yesterday. No, people whispered. Then Ren entered. Of course he did. Some forces of nature were predictable. Rain fell. Fire burned. Ren appeared whenever a crowd could witness something. He carried a new sword. This one looked even more expensive. His eyes went to mine. So the rumor is true. What rumor? That you enchanted it. I didn't. He laughed. You expect everyone to believe a scrap sword developed a fire enchantment overnight? A student near the board said, The tunnel workers saw it. Ren ignored him. He looked at the clerk. I challenged the validity of his request completion. The clerk looked tired. Why? He is not a combat student. I had field support, I said. Mira raised one hand. Ren frowned. You killed low-level rats. 9. Congratulations. His voice was sharp. You are now the strongest janitor in Arden. Several students laughed nervously. Ren looked around. He wanted control of the room back. I understood. Yesterday he had lost a sword. Today, people were talking about me. For someone raised on ranking, that was worse than pain. He pointed toward the training courtyard. Official spar. Mira stepped forward. He's injured. Ren smiled. Then he can refuse. That was the trap. If I refused, the story changed. The strange blacksmith became the cowardly blacksmith. If I accepted and lost, Ren repaired his reputation. I looked at his sword, then at mine. What are the rules? Ren's smile returned. First, clean hit. No killing techniques. An instructor nearby heard us. He stepped closer. If both agree, I can supervise. Good. More witnesses. We went outside. The courtyard filled before we reached the center. Students leaned from windows. Workers came from the forge. Even Bram appeared carrying a cup. Mira stood near the boundary. Ren drew his new blade. 8 gold, he said. Did I ask? No, I wanted you to know. That was kind. The crowd laughed. Ren's jaw tightened. The instructor raised his hand. Begin. Ren moved fast, very fast. He was a real swordsman. His first strike nearly hit my shoulder. I blocked. Pain moved through my ribs. His second attack came low. I stepped back. The third hit my blade. He smiled. He expected another contest of steel. That was not my plan. I had studied his stance yesterday. Ren used a defensive technique that redirected force through the center of his sword. Good against normal blades. Very bad against a weapon that had just opened the armor breaker branch. I had not fully evolved into that branch, but breaking his sword had given my blade a partial effect. Stress amplification. Small. Specific. Enough. Ren attacked again. I did not block the edge. I hit the same point near his guard. Once, twice, 3 times. The crowd began counting without realizing it. 4, 5. Ren became angry. Stop aiming at my sword. No. 6. He tried to strike my chest. I moved sideways. 7. A tiny crack appeared. Mira saw it first. Her eyes widened. 8. Ren heard the sound. His face changed. 9. His blade split along the center. Not completely, but enough. His defensive technique failed. The force pulled his wrist down. I stepped forward. My glowing blade stopped against the cloth over his chest. 1 clean hit. Silence. Then the instructor shouted, "Match over!" The courtyard erupted. Students shouted. Some laughed. Some ran closer. Ren looked down at the blade touching his uniform. Then at his damaged 8 gold sword. He had lost twice. The second time in an official match, in front of more than 100 witnesses. Bram drank from his cup. Expensive week. That got the biggest laugh. Ren stepped back. His face was white. Not red. White. He looked at me. You planned that? Yes. You knew my technique. I watched you. The words hit him harder than the sword. Ren was talented. He was proud of his training. Being defeated because someone simply observed him was unbearable. The instructor took my sword. He tested it, then looked at the glowing edge. This weapon has no rune. A rune specialist from the crowd pushed forward. He examined it. No crystal socket either. Someone asked, "Then where does the fire come from?" Nobody answered. That question spread faster than any answer could. By dinner, my name had reached the second-year students. By night, people were waiting outside the forge. 3 wanted repairs, 2 wanted custom knives, 1 wanted to buy my sword for 15 gold. I refused all 3 buyers. I accepted repairs. Bram changed my pay. 30 copper per repaired weapon. Yesterday, I had earned 20 copper for the whole day. Now 1 repair paid more. I completed 8 before sunset. 240 copper, 2 silver and 40 copper plus 50 silver from the tunnel job. I had more than 52 silver. Mira and I ate at a small shop outside the academy gate. I paid. That mattered to me. We ordered roasted chicken with crisp skin, garlic potatoes, cabbage cooked in butter, and thick brown gravy. Steam rose from the plates. The chicken skin cracked under my knife. The meat underneath was soft. The garlic potatoes were golden at the edges. Mira watched me eat. You are eating slower. I am adapting. To civilization? To having enough money for a second plate. She laughed. I ordered one. Halfway through dinner, Bram arrived. He did not sit. He placed a paper beside my plate. Leon wants you at the forge before sunrise. Why? Emergency order. I looked at the paper. 30 training spearheads, 10 reinforced shield rims, 6 sword repairs, deadline, sunset tomorrow, failure penalty, 5 gold. Mira read it. That is impossible for one person. Bram's expression was hard. It was assigned specifically to Evan. I looked at the signature. Leon. There it was. The next step. Ren had lost twice. Now the adult had decided to play. I finished chewing. How much is the payment if I succeed? Bram looked at me. 7 gold. I folded the paper. Then I'll be there before sunrise. The forge was already hot when Leon arrived. He brought 2 instructors and a quartermaster. Witnesses. Good. He looked at the order sheet. 30 spearheads, 10 shield rims, 6 repairs. Yes. By sunset. Yes. You understand the failure penalty? 5 gold. You do not have 5 gold. Then failure would be inconvenient. Leon smiled. I'm glad you understand. His motive was becoming clearer. He did not care about me personally. Not yet. He cared because the academy bought equipment. Someone received money from those purchases. If a first-year blacksmith started producing better equipment cheaply, existing contracts became questions. People who benefited from contracts disliked questions. Leon left. Bram slammed one hand on the table. Idiot. Leon? You. Also possible. You cannot complete this. Not normally. He stared. I walked to the tool rack. I chose an old forging hammer. The head was chipped. The handle had been replaced 3 times. How much? For that? Yes. 2 silver. I'll buy it. Bram looked at me for a long moment. Then his eyes narrowed. You think the hammer can do what the sword did? I don't know. That means yes. It means I am about to spend 2 silver finding out. The moment I bought it, it was not mine in the way that mattered. I had not made it. So I removed the head. I replaced the handle. Then I reforged the head with a small amount of fresh iron. 3 hours gone. Leon had planned around time. That hurt. But when I finished, the system recognized the hammer as my creation. Its first condition appeared. Forge 50 completed metal items. Not 50 strikes. 50 items. I smiled. Bram saw that. You got something. Yes. How bad? 50. 50 what? Finished pieces. He looked at the order, then back at me. That is not funny. Nothing today is. I started. Spearhead 1. Heat, hammer, turn, hammer, quench, shape, spearhead 2. By the 5th, sweat soaked my shirt. By the 10th, my arms were heavy. Mira arrived with water and salted bread. She did not ask questions. She simply placed the food near me. That helped more than conversation. By noon, I had 20 spearheads. The forge workers began watching. The quartermaster returned. He counted. 20? Yes. Quality? Bram threw him one. The quartermaster examined it. Acceptable. I kept working. 30 spearheads, then shield rims. Each rim took longer. My hammer had counted 30 completed items. The sword repairs counted 2 because the hammer was used in the finishing process. 36. 10 rims brought it to 46. I had 4 more, but the order was complete. I could stop. Leon expected either failure or exhaustion. I looked at Bram. Do you have 4 broken kitchen knives? He blinked. Yes. Bring them. The workers started laughing. Bram understood. The quartermaster did not. What are you doing? Improving lunch. I repaired 4 knives. The final hammer strike fell. The tool changed in my hand. The head darkened. The surface became smooth. Its weight seemed to disappear. Not literally. The mass remained. But the balance became perfect. When I raised it, I could control the head with my wrist. The system gave me the new effect. Each accurate forging strike transferred more force with less wasted energy. Material loss decreased. Forging speed increased. Repeated patterns became easier. My tool had evolved. Not my weapon, my tool. That was the third consequence. Anything I created for a purpose could grow through that purpose. Bram slowly took the hammer. He swung it once. His face became strange. "Give me iron." A worker placed a hot piece on the anvil. Bram struck. Once. The metal flattened like it had taken 3 normal hits. Everyone became silent. Bram stared at me. "This is worth more than your sword." "Not yet." The quartermaster stepped closer. "What did you do?" "Repaired kitchen knives." Nobody laughed because they had seen the result. I took the hammer back. There were 2 hours before sunset. The order was complete. So I made more. 10 additional spearheads. Then 5 more. My speed increased with each repeated pattern. By the time Leon returned, there were 45 spearheads on the table, 10 shield rims, 6 repaired swords, 4 repaired kitchen knives. A crowd had gathered outside: workers, students, 2 instructors, the quartermaster, Mira, Bram. Leon stopped at the doorway. He looked at the metal, then at the clock, then at me. "Who helped you?" "No one forged the pieces except me." Leon looked at Bram. Bram nodded. "He did it." Leon picked up a spearhead. He searched for a flaw. He found none. The quartermaster spoke. 30 were required. He produced 45. All 30 inspected pieces passed. Leon's face became still. "Then the contract is complete." "Payment," I said. His eyes moved to mine. 7 gold. The crowd was quiet enough to hear the forge fire. Leon took a pouch from the quartermaster. He placed it on the table. 7 gold coins. Yesterday, I had worried about 6 copper for breakfast. Now 7 gold sat in front of me. Bram crossed his arms. Leon turned to leave. I spoke again. "There is also a failure penalty." Leon stopped. "You did not fail." "I know." A few workers smiled. I continued. "The order says failure costs 5 gold because of emergency delivery risk. I delivered 50% above requirement before the deadline. What is the performance bonus?" Leon looked at the paper. There was no listed bonus. He knew it. I knew it. The crowd knew it. I was not asking because I expected one. I was forcing him to say it publicly. "There is no bonus." "That seems balanced." Several people laughed. Leon's face tightened. Then Bram spoke. "I'll pay one." Everyone looked at him. Bram took 2 gold from his own locked box. 1 gold for the extra spearheads, 1 gold for the new production method. Leon looked at him sharply. Bram ignored him. I accepted. 9 gold total. Money moved. My forging speed had nearly doubled. Strength moved. And now the workers were openly standing on my side. Status moved. Leon walked out. He had not shouted. That made him more dangerous. Ren's pride was visible. Leon's interests were not. That evening, Bram gave me a bronze badge. Junior Artisan. I turned it over. "Official? Inside Academy grounds." "What does it give me?" "Access to basic material storage at reduced prices. Permission to accept private repair commissions. A proper bench." "Proper bench?" He pointed at a corner of the forge. A workbench stood there. Old, heavy, mine. I touched the surface. For some reason, that mattered more than the badge. In my previous life, I had never owned a workshop. I had rented tools, borrowed space, fixed machines on other people's schedules. Now I had a bench, small, scarred, real. Mira brought dinner to the forge. Fresh flatbread, roasted sausage, melted cheese, pickled vegetables, a pot of thick lentil soup. We ate at my new bench. Bram joined us. He drank dark beer and complained about young blacksmiths using too much coal. Mira complained about alchemists labeling bottles with handwriting nobody could read. I ate sausage wrapped in warm bread with mustard and listened. For an hour, nothing tried to kill me. Nobody challenged me. No weapon evolved. It was good. Then Bram placed an old pickaxe on the bench. "Tomorrow you're going to the student mine." "Why?" "You used nearly all my cheap iron." "That sounds like a supply problem." "It is your supply problem." He tapped the pickaxe. "Junior artisans can mine a personal quota. Find your own ore." I examined the tool. The head was rusted. The wood was cracked. "How much?" "Free." "That sounds suspicious." "It is broken." "Less suspicious." I took it apart before bed. New handle, reforged head, fresh wedges, a thin steel reinforcement around the neck. When I finished, the system recognized it. The pickaxe had a simple evolution condition. Break 500 units of natural stone. Reasonable. I went to sleep. Sometime after midnight, I woke up because the pickaxe was making a sound. Not loud, a faint metallic hum. I sat up. The tool leaned against the wall. Its head pointed downward. toward the ground. The hidden sense in my mind showed something it had never shown before. Not an evolution, not yet. A distant, locked path. The name appeared for only 1 second, key to the sleeping titan. Then it vanished. I stared at the floor. The academy had suddenly become much more interesting. The student mine was beneath the northern hill. At sunrise, 40 students waited at the entrance. Most were earth mages, miners, craftsmen, and support classes. A few combat students came for ore-related quests. Ren was not there. That improved the morning. The mine supervisor was a thin man named Cole. He checked my bronze badge. Junior artisan? Yes. Personal quota is 20 kilograms of common iron ore or 5 kilograms of special material. Anything else? Anything beyond quota belongs to the academy. If you discover an unregistered vein, finder receives 20%. I remembered that number. 20%. Cole looked at my pickaxe. That thing looks older than me. It has had repairs. So have I. He waved me inside. Mira came too. She needed mineral salts for the alchemy workshop. We entered with a group of students. The first tunnel was crowded. Everyone attacked the easy rock. I did not. My pickaxe needed 500 meaningful breaks. Soft stone counted. But I wanted ore. So we went deeper. At first, progress was slow. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. The tool was normal. By 100, my hands hurt. By 200, sweat covered my back. Mira collected crystals from broken stone. By 300, 2 mining students had joined us because they were curious. One was named Oren, the other was Sam. They had heard about my sword and hammer. Rumors had reached the mine before I did. At 400, Oren said, "Your pickaxe still looks terrible." "Thank you. I expected it to glow. It may be shy." At 490, all 4 of us were counting. At 499, I lifted the pickaxe. Oren leaned forward. "This better be good." I struck. The stone cracked. The pickaxe changed. The rust vanished. The head narrowed. Dark metal lines appeared along its surface. The handle became smoother under my hands. The tool pulled slightly toward the rock wall. Not downward, sideways. Mira noticed. "What is it doing?" "Finding weakness." The system gave me the effect. The pickaxe could sense stress points in natural stone. Mining force increased by roughly 50% when striking those points. Chance of damaging valuable ore decreased. I swung where the tool wanted. The wall split. Behind ordinary gray rock was a dark blue vein. Oren shouted. Sam dropped his lamp. Mira stepped closer. "That's deep iron." I looked at her. "Value?" "About 8 silver per kilogram." I did the math. Common ore was worth copper. This was real money. Cole arrived 10 minutes later because Oren ran back screaming about a new vein. Behind him came students, workers, 2 guards, and because my life had rules, Leon, he must have been inspecting the mine or following rumors. Either way, he arrived in time. Cole examined the blue ore. "Unregistered vein." Leon immediately said, "Academy property." I looked at Cole. "Finder receives 20%. Leon turned to him. "That applies to students under mining assignment." Cole looked uncomfortable. I held up my bronze badge. "Junior artisan personal extraction rights." Leon's eyes narrowed. "That badge was issued yesterday." "Yes." "Convenient." "Very." Students began whispering. Leon stepped closer to the vein. "This tunnel is Academy-owned. All rare material found in structural zones belongs to the Academy." Cole hesitated. That sounded bad. Mira touched my arm. She pointed at a wooden marker on the wall. I looked. Tunnel boundary 12. I remembered the rules written near the entrance. Structural zones were marked with red numbers. This marker was black. I looked at Cole. "What color marks structural zones?" He understood immediately. "Red." Everyone looked at the black number 12. Leon's jaw tightened. I said nothing. I did not need to. Oren did it for me. "This isn't a structural zone." Half the students began talking at once. Cole stood straighter. "Finder share applies." Leon looked at him. The supervisor swallowed, but dozens of witnesses surrounded us. He could not change the rule now. 20% to Evan. Leon's expression became cold. "How large is the vein?" We mined a sample. Then another. By noon, Cole estimated at least 300 kilograms accessible without expansion. At 8 silver per kilogram, the visible deposit was worth around 24 gold. My share was roughly 4 gold and 8 silver before processing fees. One discovery: my pickaxe had paid for itself more than any sword. The mine workers marked the vein. Students talked. My reputation changed again. Yesterday I was the blacksmith with strange weapons. Today I was the blacksmith who found money inside walls. That was a much faster way to make friends. Leon left early. No speech, no threat. He simply looked at my pickaxe once before going. That worried me. We continued deeper because my personal quota had not been filled. The evolved pickaxe kept pulling toward weak points. We found iron, then a pocket of quartz, then a small cluster of monocrystal, too poor to be useful. Each discovery made Oren more excited. By afternoon, he treated the pickaxe like a holy object. Let it choose. It is a tool. It found deep iron. It senses stress. Let the sacred stress decide. Mira laughed so hard she had to sit down. Near the old lower tunnels, the pickaxe changed direction. Not toward a wall. Down. The same faint hum from the night returned. I stopped. Mira noticed. What? I struck the floor. Stone cracked. The hum became stronger. Oren crouched. There shouldn't be anything below this level. Old maps show solid bedrock. I hit again. The pickaxe guided me. One point, then another. The rock was strange. Too smooth beneath the surface. After 10 minutes, we uncovered a flat black slab, not natural stone, metal, ancient, covered in lines. Sam whispered, "That's a door." Cole was called again, then guards, then an archaeology instructor. Then students began arriving from other tunnels. Within half an hour, more than 50 people stood around the exposed slab. Leon returned. Of course. He looked at the black metal. His face changed. Not anger, recognition. Only for a second. But I saw it. That mattered. The archaeology instructor touched the surface. No visible lock. My pickaxe vibrated. The system reacted. The locked path became visible again. Key to the sleeping titan. Condition discovered. Strike the sealed gate 1,000 times with a tool that has uncovered forgotten stone. I stared at the metal. 1,000 strikes. Not today. The archaeology instructor ordered the area sealed. Leon immediately agreed. Too quickly. No student enters this tunnel without authorization. He looked directly at me. Especially you. Students noticed. Oren whispered, "That sounded personal." It probably was. Cole recorded my discovery officially. Because witnesses had seen everything, it could not disappear. The Academy board posted my name before sunset. Discovery of deep iron vein. Discovery of unidentified ancient structure. Junior artisan Evan Hale. Finder compensation pending. Status moved again. When I returned to the forge, a crowd was waiting. Not hostile. Customers. I counted 14 repair requests. 3 custom knives, 2 spearheads. One student wanted a frying pan. I looked at him. Why? My roommate ruined ours. Combat class? Fire mage. That explains it. I accepted the frying pan. By evening, I earned another 1 gold and 12 silver in commissions and deposits. Bram stared at the money on my bench. You have been here 4 days. Yes. I dislike you. Because I work hard? Because it took me 6 years to get that many customers. Mira arrived with groceries. We cooked instead of buying dinner. That was different. The forge had a small stove. She cut onions. I sliced beef. Bram contributed mushrooms and claimed that made him an equal partner. We cooked everything in a heavy iron pan with butter, garlic, salt, and black pepper. The onions became soft and sweet. The mushrooms absorbed the fat. The beef browned at the edges. Mira added cream. Bram protested, then ate 2 bowls. We served it over thick noodles. For the first time since arriving in this world, the forge felt almost like a home. Then a messenger came. He wore the blue seal of the Imperial Smithing Guild. He handed Bram a letter. Bram read it once. Then again, he gave it to me. I read. An official guild examiner would visit the academy tomorrow. Purpose: investigate unauthorized production of enhanced weapons. Inspect artisan credentials. Assess possible violation of relic law. The examiner's name was Silas. Below the letter was another note, requested by Deputy Training Master Leon. Bram swore. Mira stopped eating. I folded the letter. How bad? Bram looked at my sword. If they classify that thing as an illegal relic, they can confiscate it. And the hammer? Yes. Pickaxe? Yes. My frying pan? Mira stared at me. This is not the time. The customer paid a deposit. Bram slammed his cup down. Guild examiners do not care about jokes. Good, neither do I. I looked at the blue seal again. Leon had changed the battlefield. He could not beat my results, so he was attacking my right to create them. The next morning, the academy courtyard looked like a festival. Students filled the steps. Workers stood beside the forge. Instructors gathered near the examination platform. Someone had posted a notice. Official guild inspection. Enhanced weapon investigation. My name was written beneath it. That was thoughtful. Now everyone knew where to stand. Silas arrived in a blue carriage. He was not old, maybe 35. Clean coat, clean gloves, clean boots. A man who inspected forges without touching dirt. Behind him came 2 guild assistants carrying measurement crystals. Leon greeted him personally. Ren stood nearby. He had returned. His expression was controlled. He did not smile at me. That meant he had learned something. Good for him. Silas looked at my bronze badge. Junior artisan. Yes. 4 days after awakening. Yes. That is unusually fast. Bram works people hard. Bram coughed loudly from the crowd. Silas did not react. He held out his hand. Your sword. I gave it to him. He inspected the metal, then the guard, then the edge. No rune. Yes. No visible crystal. Yes. No mana channel inscription. Yes. He looked at me. How does it hold a flame property? It developed one. The crowd whispered. Silas's eyes became flat. Weapons do not develop properties. This one did. That is not an explanation. It killed fire creatures. People whispered louder. Leon spoke. Examiner, this is exactly why I requested guild review. He has repeatedly made impossible claims. Silas raised one hand. The assistants placed my sword against a crystal measuring device. The crystal brightened. One assistant read the value, then checked again. Fine-grade physical structure. Silas nodded. The assistant continued. Heat affinity equivalent to low, rare-grade enchantment. The courtyard became noisy. Silas frowned. Repeat. They did. Same result. He looked at my sword. Material composition? The assistant tested. Low-grade iron, trace carbon, no rare alloy. That caused the first real reaction. People shouted. Someone laughed in disbelief. A second-year blacksmith yelled, "That's impossible." Bram answered loudly, "We established that 3 days ago." More laughter. Silas looked at Leon. Leon's face remained still, but his eyes were angry. Silas turned back to me. "How much did this weapon cost to produce?" 14 copper. The courtyard exploded. Students repeated it. 14 copper. The measurement assistant looked offended. This level of heat enchantment alone would cost 6 gold. I paid 5 copper for coal. Bram covered his face with one hand. Silas looked at me for several seconds. Your hammer. I gave it to him. Testing showed no enchantment, but when Bram demonstrated its forging efficiency against a normal academy hammer, the difference was obvious. Silas watched 5 strikes, then 10, then he tried it himself. His expression changed. How? It completed 50 forged items. Silas slowly lowered the hammer. Tools do not improve from work. Mine do. There it was. Simple. Public. Impossible. The crowd became quiet. Silas looked toward Leon. This is not an illegal enchantment. Leon's eyes narrowed. Silas continued. There are no prohibited runes, no stolen crystal signatures, no restricted alloys. So he is cleared? Bram asked. Silas did not answer immediately. That depends. He faced me. Guild law requires relic-grade creations to be registered. My items are not relic-grade. Not yet. The words changed the air. Silas had just said something important in front of everyone. Not yet. He believed they could become relics. Leon heard it too. Ren heard it. The entire academy heard it. Silas placed the sword on the table. I will conduct a creation examination. Leon smiled faintly. There was the trap. Silas continued. You will produce 1 item using materials selected by the guild. An assistant brought a box. Inside was poor iron, worse than the scrap Bram had sold me. Students laughed. Leon's smile grew. Silas looked at him. This is standard procedure. Maybe it was. Maybe Leon had influenced it. Did not matter. I touched the iron. Low quality, many impurities. Good. I had learned something from my hammer. Material mattered less when process improved. What should I make? Silas pointed at a short sword template. Functional weapon. 2 hours. The crowd settled in. They expected entertainment. I worked. Heat. Hammer. Fold. Remove impurity. Heat again. My evolved hammer changed everything. Each accurate strike did more. Less metal was lost. Patterns formed faster. Students began whispering after 20 minutes. Bram stopped pretending not to be proud. After 1 hour, the blade existed. After 90 minutes, I shaped the edge. With 10 minutes remaining, I finished the grip. Silas took the weapon. He tested balance, then structure. The measurement crystal lit. The assistant stared. Fine grade. Leon stepped forward. From that iron? The assistant repeated the test. Fine grade. The crowd shouted. Silas looked at the blade. Cost? The guild provided the metal. Bram answered from behind us. That amount of trash iron is worth maybe 8 copper. People laughed. Leon did not. Silas moved to the cutting test. A standard target stood at the side of the platform. Layered leather over wood. The assistant swung. The short sword cut halfway through. Good. Silas nodded. Pass. Leon spoke immediately. That proves basic skill, not his claims. Silas looked annoyed now. That was useful. Leon continued. The unusual properties remain unexplained. Silas looked at me. Can you make the new weapon develop? Yes. How long? I touched the sword. The first condition appeared. 50 cuts against resistant material. Convenient. Less than an hour. The crowd became excited. Silas ordered 50 target blocks. Academy workers brought them. Students formed a circle. I cut. 1, 2, 3. The short sword was light. At 10 cuts, nothing. At 25, my arm began to ache. At 40, the crowd counted with me. 41, 42, 43. Leon's face became more serious with each number. 49. I raised the blade. 50. The weapon rang. The edge changed. Not dramatically, but visibly. The metal tightened. The blade became cleaner. Silas took it immediately. Testing crystal. Fine grade became upper fine. Cutting strength increased. Durability increased. No rune, no crystal, no enchantment. The entire courtyard went silent. Then noise hit like a wave. People shouted my name. Not Blacksmith, not Scrap Boy. Evan. For the first time, I heard my new name spoken with respect. That felt strange. Silas stared at the readings. Leon stepped back. One student near Ren said loudly, "He just made an 8 copper sword stronger by hitting wood." Another answered, "Ren should stop buying swords." The crowd laughed. Ren closed his eyes. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Silas raised his voice. "Enough." The courtyard quieted. He looked at me. "Your class ability appears to produce progressive equipment adaptation." That sounds accurate. This is not listed in current guild class records. That sounds less convenient. Do you understand what this means? Yes. He frowned. What? I need more iron. For the first time, Silas smiled. Very slightly. Leon did not. The examiner turned toward the academy officials. Evan Hale has passed the guild artisan competency examination. The crowd reacted again. He is granted provisional independent crafting rights for non-restricted materials. Bram shouted louder than anyone. Silas continued. His existing creations are not to be confiscated without direct guild review. Leon's face changed. There, public defeat, not complete, but real. In front of students, workers, instructors, guild officials. Silas handed me a silver-edged badge. Provisional artisan. I accepted it. What does it cost? He raised an eyebrow. Annual fee, 12 gold. I stared at him. The crowd laughed. Of course, even miracles had licensing fees. I have 9. Payment due in 30 days. Good. I had 1 month to make 12 gold. That morning, 12 gold sounded enormous. By afternoon, 3 instructors had already placed orders. One wanted a sword. One wanted a shield. One wanted 6 durable kitchen knives for the field unit after hearing about the forge knives. Deposits totaled 4 gold. Bram gave me a locked cabinet. The quartermaster approved my private workbench officially. Students who had laughed on the first day now stood in line. Strength. My tools had evolved. Money. I held more than 13 gold between cash and deposits. Status. I was now a provisional guild artisan 4 days after being publicly removed from combat rank. Ren approached after the crowd thinned. No friends behind him, no smile. That was new. He placed his damaged 8 gold sword on my bench. "Can you repair it?" I looked at him. "Yes." "How much?" 2 gold. His eyes widened. "That is robbery. You can buy another for 8. He stared at me, then laughed once, not happily, but honestly. "Fine." He placed 2 gold on the bench. I picked up the sword. "Why are you not insulting me?" Ren looked toward the empty courtyard. "Because twice was enough." That surprised me. He continued. "My father told me reputation is worth more than steel." "He sounds expensive." "He is." Ren looked at my evolved sword. "I still think combat classes deserve more academy resources." "I know. But Leon used me. That was more important." I stopped working. Ren's voice became lower. "The room they gave me was already planned for me before your awakening. Your removal made it look justified." I looked at him. "So the decision was made before my class appeared?" "Yes." "Why tell me?" Ren's jaw tightened. "Because I prefer losing to someone honestly." Then he left. Mira had heard everything from the doorway. She waited until he disappeared. That was almost mature. He may recover. Dangerous. I repaired his sword. Not with my special evolution. It was not mine. Just skill. When I finished, it was better than before. Not impossible. Just good. That mattered too. I did not want my class to become a crutch. That evening, the forge was quiet. Bram had gone to celebrate my guild badge with beer. Mira stayed. We cooked again. This time she brought chicken thighs, carrots, potatoes, onions, and a small jar of honey. We roasted everything in a deep iron tray. The skin became dark and crisp. The honey mixed with the chicken fat. The carrots turned sweet. The potatoes absorbed salt and garlic. We ate beside the furnace with the doors open to the cool night. Mira held up her cup. "To the strongest janitor in Arden." I looked at her. "You remembered that?" "Everyone remembered that." I raised my cup. "To expensive swords." She laughed. For a while things were peaceful. Then my pickaxe began to hum. It was leaning against the wall. The same sound from the mine. Stronger now. I stood. The forge floor vibrated. Mira stopped eating. "Evan." "I feel it." Dust fell from the ceiling. The pickaxe pulled toward the ground. Not metaphorically. The handle slid across the wall. I grabbed it. The hidden path appeared in my mind. Key to the sleeping titan. The condition had changed. The ancient gate beneath the academy had recognized the tool. 1,000 strikes were no longer required. The first seal had weakened when the gate was exposed. New condition. Bring the key to the heart of the forge above the sleeping one. I looked around. The eastern forge. My forge. A deep sound came from below. 1 Uter. The cups on the table shook. Mira stood slowly. "What was that?" A second Uter came. Stronger. Tools rattled on the walls. Outside, people shouted. Lights appeared in academy windows. Bram ran into the forge without his coat. "What happened?" The stone beneath my workbench cracked. A thin black line moved across the floor. Then another. Then 5 more. The bench tilted. I stepped back. The floor collapsed. Not the whole forge. A perfect circle beneath my workbench. Stone fell into darkness. Cold air rushed upward. Ancient stairs appeared below. Black metal. The same metal from the mine. Everyone outside saw it. Students crowded the doorway. Instructors arrived. Leon pushed through them. Silas, still staying at the academy guest house, came behind him. Dozens of witnesses stared into the hole. My pickaxe burned warm in my hand. A symbol appeared on its head. A symbol matching the ancient door. Silas saw it. His face lost all color. Leon saw his reaction. So did I. That was more important than the stairs. Silas whispered one word. Titan. Then something far below us opened its eyes.